Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper left hand corner we have Gypsy starting as the blue Terran. Bottom right hand corner we have Artosis starting as the hot pink Terran. This is on Neo Dark Origin. I am starting to run out of replays for Starcon 2024. So I think I've got, this is the last of the winners bracket. I have a bit of the losers bracket. And then that's it. And I'll be moving back to Fighting Spirit Mania, just a heads up as far as what's going on. So it'll be a lot of PvP after that. And then debating whether I'm going to take BSL, the Hasu League season off this next season or not. I'll let you guys know, in which case there will be a bunch of replays, but eventually they'll anyway, this is Neo Dark Origin, and I think so outside of ZVZ, which runs pretty typical, I feel like it actually gets really interesting in PvP and TVT, mostly because of the easy to access third base and the easy to secure third gas, and also what happens with these particular ramp lines. So you kind of have that standard natural expansion, but after then you also do have some interesting things that can happen in that back edge. There are a lot of openings that you can roll in TVT, and there's been a lot of variations. I feel like I don't even know if I can say a bread and butter one. They're just not quite as hard and fast, in my opinion, as ZVZ, where like one just gets such a dominant, mostly because oftentimes mid-game kind of turns, outside of just pure vulture battles, which happens, it turns oftentimes into who gets better positioning in the early mid-game. And basically who's able to mitigate or pounce on siege tanks or get quick thirds and things along those lines. That being said, I feel like this, if I was going to say there's a standard build, for a minute it was 3 factory vulture and then variations off countering that or engaging with that, either being Goliath and then to maybe deal with Goliath siege tank, going like Wraith siege tank. I feel like Wraith siege tank is particularly strong on this map. In particular, by the way, we're seeing the factory gas grab at exactly the same time, so no one going for greedy early command center or anything along those lines, but mostly because the Wraith can kind of peek over these ramp side edges, and the Goliaths kind of get clumped across this, and I feel like vultures can get clumped in here as well. It's kind of interesting actually. So vultures can get clumped in here, and Goliaths can perform a little bit better, more so than they already do. Wraith I feel like perform well, but also drop I think is a little bit stronger because you do have this backside edge. So there's a lot of options, and it's always, as always in StarCraft, there are a lot of interesting options. A little bit of an earlier scout here from Gypsy overall. Barracks is going to drop. Factory already getting constructed. We have an initial marine constructed on both ends. Kind of an interesting supply depot. So supply depot out to the corner. The advantage here for Gypsy is he's able to get in and peek and see that Artosis started that first command center, and is going to be able to sidle back out. After that, Artosis is only going to be able to confirm that there's no command center at the natural expansion. Gypsy should have an opportunity, actually only 2 Marines, to go ahead and deny this scout. Isn't going to have a lot of information past that. That might give Artosis, never mind, he's gone 2 Marines as well, and he's floating that Marine out there. So actually, Gypsy now moving to the low ground and pushing Artosis out. Artosis might, took a bit of damage on his way back across from that SCV as well, but Artosis might end up with a little bit of earlier scouting information because I think he lifted that barracks a half second earlier. In the meantime, it looks like it is going to be mirror builds still. Gypsy still ahead 3 supply somewhere in the space of this, maybe between, because of this difference, it looks like we have got a machine shop dropping for Artosis, so he's wanting to opt for earlier tanks, where Gypsy opting for earlier vulture play in the space of this, but command center being built on both ends. So and I actually kind of like this play. So vulture into machine shop. We'll see. The thing is with a SCV blockade and some luck on the high ground. Well, actually, no, I take that back. This vulture is going to be able to swing down, take out that SCV, and slow down this command center. And yeah, there'll be that siege tank, but even having a little bit of that timing difference can be actually pretty significant. If the Marines walk their way down, they're going to end up dying to that vulture. So I like that one vulture sneak, and also Artosis might end up losing, so you can still rely on this high ground and misfire chance to hold the high ground here, but this is, you know, a couple seconds that he ends up shaved off, and this is a game of seconds here. So, and also Gypsy able to get confirmation as far as scouting information when that siege tank draws down, so he also gets kind of an eye and piece of that tech. In the meantime, we have mines upgrading, a second factory dropping, so Gypsy going more into the overall vulture build. And let's see if Artosis, yeah, he's going to make his way on the low ground. The barracks is going to see units making their way out. But I do like, so it depends on how Artosis plays this. If Gypsy does go into 3 factory vulture and presses and gets the mines down interior to the ramp line, that will be both a vision advantage and might be some advantages otherwise. However, these siege tanks really play forward and are able to deny that ramp line, it could be an advantage to Artosis potentially, depending on how it goes. If you get enough with Marine and Siege Tank support, sometimes you can pick off these mines pretty readily. Once 3 Siege Tanks really feels like kind of that fast count to start wiping out in that forward field. Barracks, I'm not sure if the Barracks was able to sidle in and check everything out. Vulture speed also upgrading, by the way. The one problem with this for Artosis, though, is the Siege Tanks are slow. And it looks like it's just going to be 2 factory, but a lot of Vulture from Gypsy. And with a handful of Vultures, they can still dive into that natural expansion and wipe out a lot of those SCVs if the Siege Tanks get caught out in open field without a lot of defensive support. Looks like it is going to be Siege Tank into Wraith, by the way. Kind of floating out in open field. Has Gypsy gone any? Okay, he does have that armory up. Let's see if he gets some Goliaths out in the field. He's going to spot that Wraith mid-map. And so Artosis is able to, so it just kind of revealing that fact. Might get an SCV or 2 as those Goliaths are queued up. The Siege Tanks are just going to hold that line in the meantime. Artosis down 2 SCVs, by the way, so might want to, hopefully, I think he's hoping to go ahead and get a hit right there, attacking that SCV, trying to build the Academy as though he were going for Cloak. The 2 Marines have made their way back to the main, and that actually might be enough to go ahead and push that Wraith out, but Artosis is getting an eye full of information otherwise, so does have an informational advantage. He sees that second factory down, and he's going to tack on 2 additional factories himself as a result. But Gypsy has managed to sneak underneath and get a lot of mine coverage underneath, and that will slow Artosis down. And again, depending on the Siege Tank movement out here, it'll be a little bit harder to, it'll be a little bit slow moving to clear these mines. And also I kind of like the dual placement here, because that makes it a little bit harder to do that tank mine clearing, because you aim for the one. If you trigger 2 simultaneously though, that can still end up being a splash problem. So a nice little bit of play. In the meantime, he's going to try to tack away at that barracks to force another one. 3rd factory, 2nd machine shop down for Gypsy to try to fill in that Siege Tank differential. And we're going up to a 5 factory here for Artosis. So rather than sitting on 2, rather than going for 3 base play, he's going to go for potentially a 2 base attack here, is the way I'm interpreting this right this second. I could be off on that. A couple Goliaths have gone midfield, and I think Artosis' hope is okay, you went 1 factory a little bit lighter here, so I'm going to have a superior Siege Tank count. So this plus my Wraith being able to spot out in the field, I'm going to be able to get positional advantage and run you over as far as a follow-up. And now we get that dicey Marine Siege Tank clearing. A lot of Siege Tanks making the way. The Vulture's trying to sneak across. Unfortunately, that mine did not get caught. And nice pick off. That'll make Artosis a little bit more hesitant. Isn't going to want to risk the Siege Tanks potentially, so slowing down a little bit. But the other thing is once you're on this forward attack field, if the Siege Tank walks towards these mines and misfires on them, what can oftentimes happen is, Artosis, and he runs into a mine making his way back. Brutal. And so where Artosis previously had that Siege Tank advantage, he still doesn't have Siege. And now Gypsy also going up against weakened Siege Tanks that are unsieged, able to pick one off to even up that differential. So Artosis, I think that really stymies Artosis' game plan, and now he might have to think about just settling and going for a potential 3rd. But Gypsy with that forward base already in construction, feeling really, really strong with his map positioning and earlier siege, and just hit really good timing there to stymie Artosis' 5 factory in the space of this. So Artosis is up workers right this second on the 2 bases. We already have Vultures towards that 3 o'clock location. And this is where that mine advantage starting to kick in now for Gypsy, where he's just slathered this area in mines, which is going to slow Artosis down. And there's nothing on the opposite side to stop that command center from building. Gypsy actually using the bridge line to his advantage a little bit. Again, he's got an inferior Siege Tank count right now compared to Artosis, in a longer reinforcement point. No Goliaths on the forward front to work against this Wraith, although I think they might have been here, and I think they might have gotten drawn into some Siege Tank fire. So drawing back a little bit, but kind of abusing the lower ramp lines. A couple Vultures also getting drawn out to the 3 o'clock. But regardless though, Artosis needs to hurry up, because Gypsy already has that 3rd. This is just going for an interior kind of soft seal across that bridge line. If he can get a decent amount of troops out here, really stymies the 5 factory movement, because as things clump up, that siege spray just gets absolutely brutal. Artosis trying to skip the bridge line actually with this attack and going across the 3 o'clock. Gypsy looking for a soft contain there, is managing to get it. This is 4 siege tanks versus 4 along that left hand side, And now things looking kind of dire for Artosis because, yeah, I think he was just hoping to find a pocket to press out, but Gypsy very quickly maneuvering, able to shut that down. And now Gypsy's got 3 bases, and he can all he has to do, and he's going triple machine shop to get as many siege tanks out as possible. Looking for going Starport to get Wraith as well as far as a counter. So this Wraith, right now, Artosis kind of might rule the air a little bit. Supply count's very, very even. In a minute, Gypsy's just going to be able to outsupply him and just outmaneuver him, and potentially just have a better economy in the mid game. The Wraith, as soon as the Wraith start making their way out for Gypsy, as far as this swap though, it could be kind of a reverse. Well, we'll see if it turns into a reverse situation. I'm looking for maybe a dropship in the space of that as well. Artosis has gone very, very light with the Wraith and has primarily wanted to utilize them for spotting for his superior siege tank count at this stage. Has he gone up to 3? No, he's still sitting on double machine shot, by the way. Flurry of Comsats. Artosis does have another command center. This was way too... I don't like this play. He built that command center up on the high ground. Here, that's going to be even a further delay on grabbing that 3rd. He's not out of this match yet, but right now Gypsy has been... and Gypsy going to go ahead and grab that 9 o'clock, feeling like he's got a really good contain on Artosis, and Artosis has to come to him. Artosis with a 10 supply lead, by the way. Actually kind of a 15 supply lead, if you look at it, but Gypsy's positioning here at that lower ramp line and also kind of creating a nice contained situation here at that 3 o'clock, really benefiting him. And where are the Wraith now? I'm looking for the Wraith. Also cloak upgrading, and I don't know that... So there's just not going to be a lot... that could be, especially if you don't see turrets rapidly. Ooh, a couple siege tanks getting hit on the high ground. The barracks coming out to provide some spotting. And in a minute, I'm looking for like some group of Wraith to also sweep out to this 3 o'clock location. Artosis just not to have... potentially won't have enough anti-air to really do a lot about it. Do we have turrets on the low ground? No turrets either. And he's using all of his comsat to check the siege tank lines on that forward edge. Artosis making his way to +1 weapons. Ooh, accidentally shot his own siege tank in the space of that. But I'm waiting for that Wraith fleet to make its way out. I know they've been building. It looks like they're still gathering. Once those Wraith are out in the field, it could be a real game swinger. Right now, though, supply counts have evened. Artosis has managed to get his 3rd base up. He's still down a base, and Gypsy very aggressively expanding now. Look at this. Not only has he just gotten the 9 o'clock up, he's not missed a beat and has already gone bottom left. He's also opening up the stasis cell prison here bottom left. Artosis is now trying to grab his 9 o'clock, but he's still going to be behind a base in the sweep of all this. This is at even supply. Gypsy really playing on the edge here and utilizing kind of that defensive structure. Here come those Wraith. There is a siege tank that's on alert and is staging back, and this is a long distance to try to support all of this, but Gypsy able to sneak a large task force now across the 6 o'clock location with Wraith. And it looks like there were dropships here in the background for Artosis, but dropships do not shoot air. And now is that natural expansion getting shut down, and Gypsy with a beautiful, first of all, encapsulation, but then secondarily also able to get a great surprise counter with the air, and that's going to give him the match. Wonderfully played there by Gypsy. Just some great maneuvering for the map. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll move on to game 2 in just a moment.